Now that you have a simple object drawn in that rectangle that you established earlier on this page, you're going to fracture it. And you're going to draw lines. You can use a ruler. You can freehand across your image. That's going to create many different shapes or sections. So I am going to use a ruler. And by doing this, you're going to create a bit of a shattered image. The lines don't have to be necessarily straight. If you want to curve your lines or make them look more organic, you can do a combination of the two. That's up to you. Now, if you look at this, I'm going to have to assess whether or not I think that each of these shapes are really nice and balanced. And I think that's all I really need to do to get a good composition. Maybe I'll put some other ones just kind of to break up larger areas. Okay. And then you're going to use your variety of pencils to shade in each shape or section so that light and dark contrast one another. And that's where this trick of the fracture is going to come in. So for instance, if I'm using my 4B right now, something I like to do so I don't smudge this, I like to put a piece of paper underneath here. And again, I'm using that technique of going in little ovals or a circular motion. I'm creating a nice gradient. So I'm gradually going from dark to light. All right, and then when I consider the space next to it, I want to create a hard edge as well as some contrast. All right, I'm going to take this dark value. I'm using my 4B pencil right now. Creates a really nice, rich, dark gray. And then once I hit there, I'm going to start to lighten up my pressure. And this is like where the three-dimensionality comes in. This is where the magic happens, where it really starts to kind of have this push and pull. Kind of looks like it's going back and then going forward. So as soon as I hit this edge right here, I'm barely touching the paper. I'm going to go around that shape. Maybe I'll make it a little bit dark here. And I'm really going to push my value over here. And you can see that I'm going in a different way. I'm going in the opposite direction. And that way I can cover some more ground. So I have a nice fade or a nice gradient going on. Some of you might find like controlling this, your motor skills are still developing. So you might have trouble kind of controlling your pencil as you do this. So if that's the case, that's something that you're going to be very cognizant and aware on as you work on this. Because this is where you can really up that skill of your fine motor skills, of your hand and your eye coordination. So I'm putting down some more pressure. If you find that you're really heavy-handed while you're using this 4B and it's just really smudgy and things like that, use your 2B. But again, I'm not taking my finger and smudging it. You're just going to create a mess. You're going to create something that's not going to look like it has very good craftsmanship. I'm going to go back into this with my 4B so that I'm really pushing, again, that dark value. I want my shading to be nice and smooth with no visible pencil lines or VPLs. All right, so once I start in this shape right here, I'm going to maintain a fairly light value because this is so dark. Again, I'm creating contrast. Sometimes with lighter values, I like to hold my pencil down here so I'm not gripping the pencil too hard. Because that's when I get, you know, my really nice dark values. I'm actually going to use my piece of cardboard that I've been using as a straight edge to do this. Take a little look back here. There's a little bit of a glare. That's just the lighting. But do you see how the darker looks like it's coming forward and the lighter values look like they're being pushed back? That's the effect that I want. That's where the fracture is going to come in. So you might run into a situation where if you go dark, because this is light, then it's just going to blend in with this shape. And we want these shapes to be, like, we want them to stand out. We want this really hard edge. So your gradient doesn't necessarily have to go, you know, from dark to light and then stop. It can kind of ebb and flow. So like right here, I can make a light value to contrast this, but then I can play with just really subtly putting down some pressure so that I can contrast that shape. Right now it gets dark right here, so I'm going to have to lighten up. My shape edges get kind of lost here, so I'm just going to really lightly establish an edge. And that's, I think, going to be the challenge for us, is to make these shapes distinct while still showing these beautiful gradients with the pencils. Here's a little trick. If like you have two values that need to pass each other, but they're really, really, really similar and you can't differentiate the values, if you leave a little sliver of white, like the tiniest sliver of white, you can create definition between each shape, right? But it's got to be really, really slight and different. Not different. It's got to be really, really slight and thin in order for it to work, because you don't want it to be obvious, okay? All right, I am almost done with this. Fractured values. Sounds like the name of a soap opera. Fractured values. Whew. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do is just kind of assess the neatness of some edges and maybe smooth out some VPLs. That stands for visible pencil lines. Just to kind of smooth those out. If there are any edges that are that kind of blend in together, I'm going to see what I can do to make them contrast a little bit more. And then when I am done, I am going to take a quality photograph of just this and upload it to the slide deck that is available in Canvas. And I'll talk more about that. But for right now, you're going to want a really good quality photograph of this after you fix anything that needs to be fixed. So yeah, fractured values. So are the days of our lives.